So good evening, ladies and gentlemen. Namaste and a very warm welcome to all of you to the Blub World Web Talks 201st episode. In the last 200 episodes, more than 3,000 school leaders have participated on this very platform, shared their ideas, opinions, innovations, and what all new are they doing in the education space. तो नमस्कार, आप सभी का स्वागत है ब्लब वर्ल्ड वेब टॉक्स के 201वें एपिसोड में। पिछले 200 एपिसोड में करीबन 3,000 से ज्यादा स्कूल लीडर्स ने इस प्लेटफॉर्म पर अपने आइडियाज, ओपिनियंस, इनोवेशन शेयर किए और वो शिक्षा को कैसे बदल रहे हैं ये शेयर किया। आज की शाम को जब हम वापस से वी हैव गॉट टुगेदर, आज हम ये डिस्कस करने की कोशिश करेंगे कि कोविड के दौरान डिजिटल लर्निंग हैपेंड अमेजिंगली, पीपल गॉट ऑनलाइन, सब कुछ ऑनलाइन होने लग गया। बट व्हेन एवरीथिंग इज नाउ नॉर्मल, नियरली नॉर्मल, most of the educators, most of the parents, and most of the students now are realizing something, that there has been an irreparable loss in learning, and most of us are trying to find ways of just patching it up or removing that loss, but we don't know how to do it. And there are a lot of challenges that every school leader is facing. So let's try to analyze this a little deeper, that what are the actual challenges, how are most of the schools tackling it, and is there something new to learn from all the school leaders that we have today, and how are they tackling this COVID learning loss? So before we start the journey of this episode, the Blub World Web Talks is a timed platform. So once your speaking time is over, you might get muted. If you get muted, please don't get offended. It's just to keep the activity interesting and crisp for everyone. Secondly, it's a bilingual platform. So you can use English or Hindi, any of these two languages in the conversation. Please don't use a third one. I might not get it. And finally, think of this as a speaking sprint. तो जो आपका बेस्ट फुट है उसे सबसे आगे रखिए और 100 मीटर की रेस के जैसे इसको दौड़ जाइएगा. It's not a marathon. So कोशिश कीजिए कि हम मैक्सिमम आइडियाज को कम से कम समय में ऑडियंस के सामने और सभी लोगों के लिए रख पाए. Thank you so much everyone once again for joining us today. Let's initiate this round table with a bird's eye view. हम लोग कोशिश करते हैं that whenever we start a web talk, before going to the school leaders, कोई ना कोई एक external perspective पूरे discussion में आना चाहिए. So today we have with us Dr. Shourya Kuttappa, who's the academic manager and counselor from Amrita Vishwa Vidyapeetham, Coimbatore, Tamil Nadu. Shourya sir, over to you to initiate this round table on COVID learning loss. Have students recovered yet? A very warm welcome, sir.
Thank you so much, Daksh. Good evening, and getting directly to point. I don't think there really exists empirical data to show whether there actually has been learning loss, and to what extent, and have students actually made up. Because if we needed to talk from some sort of a data, we'll need a sort of an extended research to happen on students who took up particular exams during the COVID period, and versus students who are taking the same exam now or something like that. I don't really think there is concrete data that we can speak from. Having said that, I think there are a couple of things which COVID has actually given us, which were a boon, and a couple of things which we might have missed. I'll just bullet them out. One, the benefit I think COVID has given us is we can learn from anyone, anywhere in the world. Though this existed before COVID, it wasn't mainstream yet. COVID has actually pushed people to this platform where now they can learn anything from anywhere, and the degree per se or the certificate per se that comes with it does not seem that that relevant nowadays. Having said that, the losses would have or at least what from what I am gathering, the losses have been in two places. One, the sections of society that did not have access, the lower middle sections of society that did not have access to whatever technology, mobile phones, etc., at that point of time, suffered. So there can be more. In what way have they been compensated yet? I'm not so sure, because students who would have missed out on a particular area, did they get an opportunity to come back into it, which meant that it would probably cost them another year? I'm not so sure. The second point that I wanted to bullet was the existing education system provided a cover for a certain type of people who otherwise would not have been pushed into the education system. For instance, in some sections of society, women, girls, one reason that they get the cover is because they say, okay, we're going to school. So in that being absent, I see I do see some data where sections of society which were using school as cover would have missed out on whatever they would have gained then, and that loss, I'm afraid, will take a lot of time to recover. So I think from where I see these two areas of losses, which I'm not so sure how it can be covered.
Thank you so much. Sorry, sir. Let me try to summarize what you said. You started with that there is no empirical data on learning loss. I think there needs to be more research on this, which you typically talked about. The extended research is required for exact scenario analysis and then taking decisions and taking the discussion ahead accordingly. And I think a very important development that you shared, that learn from anyone, anywhere, is now mainstreamed, and certification criticality is decreasing. So with these observations, I think now what we want to know from school leaders, that Shourya sir comes from an ecosystem where there are active learners. Now, what's the case with the passive learners? That is there a learning loss, or is there no learning loss because data does not talk so? So, and we don't know whether data has been collected for it or not yet. So let me invite the first school leader speaker for today's session. A very warm welcome is Kanchan Joshi, principal of Cygnus World School from Vadodara, Gujarat. Kanchan ma'am, over to you for the next 3 minutes. A very warm welcome.
Thank you. Good evening, everyone. I come from a school where, again, we have children coming from the elite section of the society, and they had complete access to all kinds of digital resources. Also, the teachers from the very beginning were provided with all sorts of devices. So our classes, online classes, started from the very beginning, from the 1st of April 2020. Our teachers attended a lot of training programs, extensive training programs. They themselves got involved to a great extent. And so what we have observed after COVID is that there has been a learning loss, definitely, but in terms of, majorly in terms of writing. Children do not want to write anymore, because for the last 2 years, all kinds of assessments, all kind of written work has been done digitally. And that's one of the major problems that we are facing. We have also done an ESSET exam sampling for different grades. For example, we did it for grade 3, we did it for grade 5, we did it for grade 8, and checked it across our ESSET results of the past years before COVID. And we found that when we compared the data, we found that the results were almost the same. There was not much difference because we were able to provide effectively the education throughout COVID. So major 2 issues that we are facing at the moment include writing. And second one is behavioral issues. Children have lost completely the understanding of how to behave in a social setup. That's a major issue. Most of the time of the school teachers, the school leaders, I think, is getting utilized in bringing about changes in the behavior, appropriate changes in the behavior of students to a great extent, and to ensure that children get back to the style of writing, to the capability of being able to express themselves in the correct way. Especially through writing, we are doing a lot of changes as far as pedagogical practices are concerned. So we have adopted to a great extent blended learning. Whatever was happening in the classroom, like the lecture of the teachers, the teaching of the content in the classroom now goes home through the digital platform that we've been using since the last 2 years. So this year also a lot of digital content goes home for the children to prepare. When they come back to school, we have made seating arrangements from grade 1 to grade 9. They sit in groups and they do a lot of interaction. And also we give them a lot of written work. So group activities help them interact with each other. I think my time is over, so I will stop here. Over to you, Mr. Daksh.
Thank you so much, ma'am. Let me try to summarize what you said. So one of the school leaders who comes from a premier school says that yes, learning loss has been there, but majorly in terms of writing and behavioral change. Learning as such was quite on track, but yes, writing became redundant after digitalization, and behavioral issues are absolutely seeded now, because that most of the schools now feel that children now no more are prepared to deal with all the social challenges that are around them. They don't want to be in a social setting anymore. They want to typically be in a much more cozier environment when they get on to learning, because that they had for around a year or two. They were in a super cozy environment when they were learning. So thank you so much, ma'am. Let me invite the next speaker for today, Mrs. Dipinder Kaur, the principal of Lions Public School from Gurugram, Haryana. Dipinder, ma'am, over to you for the next 3 minutes, and a very warm welcome.
Hello, good evening, everyone. Like we are talking about the learning loss, I think it has been immense. And I'll focus on all the levels that as school leaders we have been witnessing, I mean, in the last so many months. So right from I'll start from pre-primary. Like since the formative years of learning, I saw like my school is a mix of low middle class, middle class students. So I have seen many parents had not enrolled children in the pre-primary classes. I mean, for whatever reasons, I don't want to get into that. So because of that, the social and emotional learning really did suffer. The peer interaction, when we see children engaging amongst themselves, that is not as it should have been otherwise. So this is one thing. And staying in the houses, there was less of physical activity and also creative activity amongst the pre-primary children, because I don't think parents are able to devote that much of time the way teachers do that in the schools. So that is one big issue. And obviously because of that, there is lack of confidence, and there are exceptions. So the ones who have not been enrolled, so we do see that lower confidence in them. Then if we come to the primary or the middle school level, what I have seen is, the children cannot take the slightest amount of pressure, because these are the years where, teachers and parents kind of grill them quite a bit. So because they can't take that kind of pressure, so again, there is that lack of confidence. And if you like, we have seen them performing on stage, and also that stage phobia I have also witnessed during the middle school, years. So that is what we are battling with. And again, like Kanchan ma'am had mentioned, reading and writing also. I mean, in school, we could coax and cajole them to read and write, books and storybooks or whatever. So that aspect is a huge challenge. And also, like, while talking to my other teachers, especially the maths teachers, the basic calculations again have taken a hit. So that is where the middle school teachers are kind of, struggling, so that, they should be able to come up over there. So, and now if I come to the senior level, sleep pattern is grossly disturbed. And because of that, children, obviously when they come to school, I have seen that they make some or the other excuse of headache or, stomach ache, and they go and lie down in the infirmaries and they have a nice nap in the school time. So parents probably don't know that. I think my time is up. So, and one important thing is, staying at home, children have witnessed a lot of family disputes, which have again taken a toll on their mental health.
Thank you so much, Dipinder. I think you gave a very detailed view into the on the topic that yes, for pre-primary, it's an immense learning loss. And most importantly, because of non-enrollment, उनका पूरी तरह से एक social disconnect हो गया for pre-primary. Less physical activity, less creative activity, lack of confidence. ये जो मतलब बहुत ज्यादा छोटे बच्चे थे या प्री प्राइमरी वाले थे, उनके साथ ये चैलेंज हो गया है, जिसको रिकवर करने में काफी समय अब लगने वाला है, बिकॉज वो फॉर्मेटिव ईयर्स में अगर हो जाता है तो इट गेट्स इजीली सीडेड इन, नहीं तो फिर सीड इन नहीं होता है. इन मिडिल स्कूल द स्लाइटेस्ट अमाउंट ऑफ प्रेशर ब्रेक स्टूडेंट्स, and I think it somewhere relates to Kanchan ma'am's point as well. Behavioral change has already been there now. Reading, writing losses are there, basic mathematics getting hit, and I think a very important observation that infirmary visit has now become napping time. So most of the parents you might know it, you might not know it, But this is a time to look into the sleep patterns of the teenagers with you, because I think this is impacting their learning in the school ecosystem. Thank you so much, ma'am. Let me invite the next speaker for today, Mrs. Ritu Kapur, principal of Lokmanya Tilak International School from Maharashtra. Ritu, ma'am, over to you for the next 3 minutes. Please unmute yourself and a very warm welcome.
Good evening, everyone. But actually, even I will say that yes, my school is one where we are having mixed group, and due to that, some students were not able to have access to the online learning, and that has really led to a big gap between what it was before the COVID, before the pandemic, and now in this new normal. And the school is trying to bridge this gap for sure. But it's this loss is not easy to recover, believe me, because it is about the learning gap. When we are talking about the simple reading and comprehension skills are also missing in the children. It's not only about learning, it's about their behavioral issues, as all other speakers have mentioned, about their mental well-being. This we have experienced, and the school is trying, we have appointed special educators to try to bridge in this gap. But these 2 years loss will be very difficult. And as ma'am was also sharing that the pre-primary children, for whom many parents had not even registered them with the school, for them it was difficult. But even for the ones who had joined the school, it was a big task for the parents to make their child sit in front of the device and take on the learning. In case of primary children, there the parents were doing the maximum thing. So it's something where I can say that though the child was doing well in online learning, because the writing part, or even when it was assessment being done, so the parents were helping, but when they came back to normal, they were not the same. So the gap has been there, and it will take time for bridging up for sure. But the schools all over the world are trying their best, and I will just say, like a plant is never bothered about the flowers falling, or the flowers which are about to fall, but they are always busy in for the blossom, to ensure that new flowers are blossom. Same thing for the life also. We will not look into the past, what we couldn't do, but we have to see that what we can still do. So this is what I think so children are also taking. The schools are going for extra efforts. For my school itself, we are more into now experiential learning, more of exhibitions and technofest and community services and cultural activities, sports activities, other than making more of activity based learning, so that we can make children feel attracted towards the school. And I can see the results. The way children are now coming back to normal. And as far as behavioral issues are concerned, I agree with it truly, that it's becoming difficult for all of us. And I feel for the parents as well. And somewhere I feel, the OTT.
Thank you so much, Ritu. The 3 minutes were over, but we'll again try to come back to you. I'll try to summarize. Online learning access made a big difference in the haves and the have-nots. And I think जो ऐसे schools हैं जिनमें lower middle class and middle class का combination है, वहाँ पे ये gap और ज़्यादा evidently दिख रहा होगा. If you are very well equipped, if you're actually teaching only the premier part of the society, वहाँ पे उतना evidently शायद ना दिखे, but उससे थोड़ा सा नीचे level पे वो haves और have-nots का difference तुरंत class में starkly दिख जाएगा. Mental well-being has been hit, and I think for pre-primary we can all say that कि जो pre-primary के parents हैं, now they are far well educated and equipped to give an examination rather than their children. तो माँ बाप तैयार हो गए एग्जाम्स देने के लिए. I think उनका examination हमें अब जल्दी ले लेना चाहिए. Focus on the future. Let's not focus on the flowers that have actually dropped या जो mature out हो गए. But I think there needs to be some empirical work around this where we could actually have some data on the learning loss. Because I think most of the school leaders, even when we are talking, off screen, या on ground भी जब school leaders से बातचीत करें, तो what we can understand is कि कुछ ऐसे nuances हैं जिनको ठीक करना बहुत ज़्यादा मुश्किल हो रहा है. It's actually has become a very big challenge because हम अभी experiential learning की तरफ देख रहे हैं कि वो किसी ना किसी तरीके से वो learning loss curb हो जाए, but that's not so easy because कुछ ऐसा academic loss है which is staying. So let's try to delve more deeper into it. Let me invite the next speaker for today. A very warm welcome to Dr. Dheeraj Mehrotra, Principal of Kunwar's Global School from Lucknow, Uttar Pradesh. Dheeraj sir, over to you for the next 3 minutes and a very warm welcome.
Well, good evening, everyone. Thank you so much. And nothing to speak much after having a deliberation from all wonderful colleagues this evening. But for sure, I believe is that they are more tech friendly rather than being edu friendly now. So they are big bosses on their own, independent learners, and they've become more towards tech dependent rather than teacher dependent. And unfortunate to say that they are not listening to their parents, they are not listening to their teachers. Even teachers are, thinking of what next way to bring them back to the classroom. So yes, there is a challenge and apt topic. Not much of media or not much of articles have been driven through, but this is actually unexpected. We thought that we'll get them back, but it's not that easy. We are trying to implement, as my colleague said, experiential learning. But again, that is not that friendly because they want to be their own boss. There's no listening factor. There's no opaque culture of value education now because they are with the spectrum of digital candies. And as I said earlier, enjoying the independence of tech friendliness. So now I think it takes time because CBSE is no longer coming up with PT1 or PT2. We are expecting the 3-hour paper now and a proper setback coming back to the portals of the similar format. And unfortunate part is the children are yet to mount on to that preface. The parents are not that supportive because it is out of their world now. There is a strong challenge, not only among the teachers, but also among the parents. So I think it is high time that we close this effect. Gaming with the parents, like how to make them comfortable at the very stroke of being a learner rather than a curator. Yes, there was a talk probably that they were bouncing towards the tech-friendly nature of it, but now they are not listening to it. Yeah, we thought that they will be back with the same spectrum. Unfortunate, being the head of the school, I face every day. The new normal talks about is it is a challenging normal now, and we are having cases of love affair, not even, thinking of class 2 and 3, breaking and then joining with new friendship culture. I think 2 years was a gala time for them, and we need to have a proper mental health system, that sessions need to go on, and it's a serious matter. Yes, for sure. And thank you so much for bringing this on priority. Thank you. And I can see your hand up, so it's over for me.
Thank you so much, Dheeraj sir. And I think an aspect that you have actually talked about is very important, which we also wanted should be a part of the conversation some or the other way. I think a very important observation that, and you can see a love affair happening in class 2 and 3, there is some major challenge that's already in place. And वो challenge tackle करने के लिए the first thing that you want is attention, and वो attention अब बच्चे आपको देने को राजी नहीं है, because all that attention is with those internet online candies जो आपने अच्छे से term किया. And ये हम इसको कितना भी मतलब when we look at it academically, it could be कि हाँ okay, it over a course of time it might get back to normal, but the challenge is that you have opened the cocoon very soon. And now when you want them to come back to that cocoon, it won't happen. And you cannot make learning happen exactly the way the real world works. There has to be some simulative difference that has to be there in the real world and in the classroom. And now there is no, space or where you can create that kind of a simulation. It's all so real, so quick that it's getting very difficult to get everyone to listen to a teacher. because technology has given them all access at every point of time. So this all access is making education more inaccessible. So thank you so much, Dheeraj sir. Let me invite the next speaker for today. Very warm welcome, Dr. Madhu Singh, Director from Srinet Global School from Deoria, Uttar Pradesh. Madhu ma'am, over to you for the next 3 minutes. Please unmute yourself and a very warm welcome.
Thank you, Daksh. Good evening, everyone. I would like to introduce myself. I have worked as a principal with Billabong High International School at Malad, Mumbai for 8.5 years, and I have taken a voluntary retirement. I have moved to a rural segment of Deoria, where I'm constructing a school for the rural segment of the society. And I have worked in one of very elite schools where the latest technology availability was there. We did very good stuff with our children, and I bet there is no learning loss with children of Billabong High, for sure. But to my stark difference, what I am experiencing here in the rural area, while constructing school, I'm also teaching children of the school, of the village, and I have about 50 students coming to me across all the grades. It's absolutely pleasure to see the kids here, but very, very disheartening and a pitiful state of the state at which these children are. There is no conceptual knowledge. My children or students of grade 6, 7, and 8 cannot solve queries of grade 2. I don't know whether it's because of COVID or because what Pratham said about 10 years back, that there are certain learning gaps which exist in the rural segment of the society. I have a big job in my hand when my school starts in the next academic session. I really have to figure it out. How do I bridge these gaps? Secondly, what I feel is with children of coming with learning gaps, something has to be done by us teachers, as they need to be given that remedial hand. We need to, an action plan could be to, take a lecture out of the regular syllabus and keep it only as a remedial section. Teachers need to be trained. That's my personal opinion, that teachers need to be trained as to how to handle this situation of bridging gap. The maximum learning loss has been with the preschoolers. They have, and the reading and the comprehension skills of the primary section is a major problem currently in the current situation. But I get to hear from my colleagues as well. Of course, the social segment is very much there. The mental health is an issue. But to talk more on the rural and the middle school segment of the society, is these children have really been deprived. I don't know, and I do not have an answer as of now for myself as well. How will I cover up this, and how will I ensure that the learning happens and they are at par with their other friends in the country, in the entire country? I really do not know. So all I can say is we'll have to ask our teachers in my school and in the rural segment, in the sea-town cities where they did not have access to technology and to their schools, even through WhatsApp or to the Zoom, that accessibility was not there in the B and the C towns, not even B, I think the C and the D town cities. And so these children were totally at home, getting text material on WhatsApp where no assistance was given to them. And there was complete loss of knowledge for them. So I really have no answer to this. How are we going to build up the rural element of our country, where I think the 65% of our children reside in these places? So as a team, we should all figure out and come out with solutions of how are we going to take care of these children. The ones who are in the higher cities are really privileged to have access to absolute technology. But to my surprise, these children in the rural segment do not have access to technology as well. So they are still totally dependent on the teacher and their school for their continuous learning. Thank you so much. This is all I had to share.
Thank you so much, ma'am. You're right now trying to build a school in rural India, and I think that gives you a very good perspective into how does a project of a school come up when you just come out of such a big challenge. And that challenge, आपने I think प्रथम की बहुत पुरानी रिसर्च भी कोट करी, जहाँ पे लर्निंग लॉस की एक स्टडी की गई थी कि 6th, 7th, 8th के बच्चे 2nd, 3rd के प्रॉब्लम सॉल्व नहीं कर पाते. उनके लिए लर्निंग की वैलिडिटी है कि जैसे ही क्लास खत्म वो लर्निंग एक्सपायर हो जाती है, वो आगे उनके साथ में कैरी फॉरवर्ड नहीं होती. You talked about कि for premier schools there is no learning loss. I think वहाँ पे जो कंचन मैम ने कहा कि there is a bigger challenge of behavioral pattern change, and दूसरा वहाँ पे writing का challenge है. But rural India के अंदर आप ये बिल्कुल कह सकते हैं that it's an absolute learning loss challenge that is there, and there are no good ideas to tackle it right away. It's all based on evolution. हम बहुत ज़्यादा केवल चीजों के organically grow करने पे भरोसा कर रहे हैं. But there has to be some conscious effort on towards this, that how can established institutions which have the capability can share their knowledge set or their resources in some or the other way with other schools. Because agar wo have or have not ka gap zyada bada ho gaya, so there is something called a hunger war in the world, wo zyada badi dikkat ho jayegi, which we typically don't want. So there has to be some serious deliberation on this as well. Let me invite the next speaker for today, Mrs. Akanksha Srivastava, Principal and Director for Dholakia International School from Gondal, Gujarat. Akanksha ji, over to you for the next 3 minutes and a very warm welcome.
A very good evening to everyone. It's a wonderful session where I got to hear from all the experts their ideas. As the last speaker, I do not have much to share, but I would really go for empirical data which sir was talking about. The data says there are around 200 million learners in the world who were not fit for the online learning, and they had no access. The marginalized and the vulnerable categories of the nation in our India is also more than 3 million. And as very rightly ma'am said, that 65% of children of the country reside in such areas. So learning loss due to COVID is a reality. We have to accept it. And it is in various levels. If I tell you in short, to start with, first is language acquisition. May it be any language, children are really poor in comprehension, and of course in their skills of speed and accuracy of mathematical skills. The loss, if I tell you, is directly proportional to the length of closure that has happened in the schools, and then rolling of the schools, which kept on happening online, offline, again online, offline, has been a turmoil over the learning journey of the child, especially to the young ones. Very frankly, there are solutions. I have worked on some of them in my school, and I have worked with schools of Ahmedabad, and right now I'm working in a school which is based at Gondal. Of course, it's a small town, but the learners are mixed. I have middle class children also and upper middle class children also. So what is working and what is not working is certainly the same. The children behavior is an issue, and it is a serious issue to be tackled upon. Of course, we can have various measures to curb it, and it's a long process. It cannot be curbed over or recovered over a period of 1 or 2 years. But then what I believe and what is working is, number one, high dosage of tutoring. So I do not call it anymore a classroom, small sized classroom, where a teacher is not just a teacher, but also a tutor to the child, so that as a mentor, they know their well-beings and they know of how to give the right solution to the right problem, and very personalized approach. So there is something which I call as 9 kids. So we can go for such models, which is working for me. Number 2, summer learning programs. I had no other affairs in this summer. I only focused on the skill development of children, the basic skills, right from the phonics for the young ones. Okay, the reduction in the class size, that is very important. Extension of school day. So now my school is not 8 to 2, it is 8 to 4 after the corona, because I know children, once they go home, they are again occupied with the gadgets, and as sir said, it's a big addiction. So this is a global issue, addiction with the gadgets, and it's not just with the kids, it's also with the parents. It's really disheartening to see that the parents are giving the children these windows. So of course, rehab services from the school, counseling and guidance are the only solutions that I look forward to. And one very important thing, as Daksh sir was mentioning, community service. We need to think beyond what we are doing to only our children, and that is the only solution. Of course, policymakers will come up with some of the other policies. Boards will keep changing their evaluation assessments depending upon what is children coping of. But we should not forget of what are we giving to the future. These learners are going to face difficulties which are not as simple as today's. So for making them future ready, I think we need to work a lot. Thank you.
Thank you so much, ma'am. And I think 2 very good data that you've quoted: 200 million learners who are not fit for online learning. And I think in India specifically, 65% of learning population did not have internet. तो ये challenges तो हैं, ये अच्छे से seeded in भी हैं, और ये परेशान कर भी रहे हैं. You talked about comprehension, you talked about for children it was typically a roller coaster ride. कभी आप online पढ़ लीजिए, कभी आप offline पढ़ लीजिए, लेकिन आपका learning loss नहीं होना चाहिए. So you should keep running that marathon, जबकि वो हो नहीं पाया. हाई डोजेज ऑफ ट्यूटरिंग, जो कि आपने एक सोल्यूशन दिया, जो काफी सारे स्कूल्स अब कर रहे हैं, छोटे ग्रुप्स में बच्चों को थोड़े लंबे ड्यूरेशन के लिए पढ़ाना. सेकेंडली, स्किल डेवलपमेंट. नाउ द रीजन स्किल डेवलपमेंट हैज बिकम इवन मोर क्रिटिकल इज बिकॉज एकेडमिक कंटेंट तो बच्चा सुनने को राजी नहीं है. वो सुनने को तैयार ही नहीं है कि आप क्या थ्योरी पढ़ाना चाहते हो. Until and unless he sees the application or the real world implication of what he's learning, he's not ready to listen because he's now in a completely open ecosystem. Extension of school schedule, I think ये एक ऐसी चीज है जो बहुत सारे schools try करना चाहते भी हैं, but there are a lot of challenges into it. कभी parents की तरफ से मना आ जाएगा, कभी ecosystem मना कर देगा, because a lot of people will try to disrupt this. And finally, community service, I think, is a way to sort a lot of things, because जब बच्चे पूरी तरीके से real world को access कर पा रहे हैं, and when they can actually go to technology, community service is a good way of opening the world for them, because they won't listen to you, but when they see everything around them in the community, I think there could be a major learning shift that might happen for the students. So we have listened to all the school leaders now. Now it's an open floor. If you want to add something, if you missed out onto anything, if you got muted, if your time was over, please feel free to unmute yourself and share your ideas.
Thank you very much, first of all. And looking forward is a priority that we should understand NEP and try following it, implementing it, because even as we have delayed the sustainable development goals because of COVID, I think even implementation of NEP shall also be delayed a bit. And then looking forward to all what has been diagnosed and interpreted through the Sahodaya meeting recently concluded. I believe that there will soon be some circulars to schools like what to follow, what next to come up. But the challenge before us is more of being a counselor rather than an educator now. So thank you very much, all of you. It was a pleasure being here this evening. God bless everyone.
Thank you so much, Dheeraj. And I think Kanchan ma'am wants to say something. Ma'am, over to you.
Yeah, so I would like to say that all of us are talking about the fact that children have got addicted to technology. But I have a little, difference of opinion here. I feel there is no way forward without technology. Each one of us are spending a very large amount of time on technology. Children are, they are not aliens to technology like we are. Possibly we are not being able to provide them what they want. And that is why they are getting glued to what they like. We have to change the system of education to something that they acknowledge, they appreciate, they want to learn from. Children of today want to learn from YouTube. They want immediate feedback. They want quick change. They want immediate appreciation, which is practically not possible without technology. There are various platforms. Recently, I have come across a very good platform, which is known as First in Math. We have got associated with them through a group of futuristic schools, and grade 3 and grade 4 students of our school are involved with this. And believe me, as soon as they go home, the first thing that they sit down and do is First in Math. So they are fruitfully engaged. We are not being able to do that. We need to upgrade ourselves. We need to upgrade our teachers. We need to provide them with what they want. We are still using the 1980 style of teaching, which will not be accepted by students, and there will be no growth. So that's from my end. Thank you so much. It was a pleasure interacting with all of you. Thanks, Daksh ji, for having me here today. I would like to make a move if you don't mind, please.
Thank you so much, ma'am. And I think we have to gamify education when we typically talk of this perspective, but gamification at such a mass scale is actually the challenge. Because when we even look at a simple example, Minecraft, which was a very good example of how education could actually come out of gamification, but till date, when it has already been in existence for more than 10, 15 years now, Minecraft Ed till now is not a very interesting solution. So a lot of technology solutions pick up very quickly in their initial times, but when we look at their consistency and long-term growth, there is where the challenge comes in. Because what we are trying to do is trying to transform thousands and thousands years of learning into a gamified perspective within a very small duration of time. But we are hopeful that it will happen. I think Akansha ma'am wants to add something. Ma'am, please, over to you.
So with all due regards, I totally agree to what ma'am wanted to, help us with, that yes, the use of technology done in the right way, children are attracted to, and yes, at least there'll be lesser learning gaps. But what I'm worried of is, and what is actually prevailing and is very worrisome for the International Association of Education also, is students' loss of interest towards the real learning objectives. There is no outcomes, proven outcomes out of these all different sorts of groups. I was personally associated with a lot of companies who are dealing with all of this. I was writing content for them as a freelancer, but then what I've figured out is the overall outcome which is available. If I compare it, and if I actually put it on data of what happened when the teachers did it and what happened when the technology did it, there's a huge difference. And then moreover, because the challenges that we are seeing in the society, it's, see, we are not just developing learners, we are developing citizens. So if they will, like, just माहौल से वो निकल के टेक्नोलॉजी के थ्रू पढ़ के आते हैं, वही वो प्रॉब्लम है कि ह्यूमन जो बेसिक ह्यूमन वैल्यूज हैं वो धीरे धीरे मिसिंग ही होती जा रही. So what I believe is human interaction should not be sacrificed upon, even if we are going for technology. So smaller groups, tutoring, of course it is already being कर ही रहे हैं लोग, but इसे बढ़ाने की जरूरत है. And I think peer learning also should be encouraged, which is working with a lot of good schools, and children are enjoying learning with each other. So that also should be encouraged a lot, because as you said very rightly, now they are not deprived of information, and many of them are also able to convert it into knowledge. So why not give them that open window to learn and create a space of co-learners?
Absolutely. If children come only out of technology, they learn only from technology, they look at the world only as a technology solution, because उनका perspective थोड़ा सा narrow होने की गुंजाइश है. We are nearly at the conclusion of the session. Time खत्म हो गया है, so I'll just ask for closing remarks from Dr. Shourya. Dr. Shourya, over to you for your closing remarks, and then we'll conclude the session.
Thank you so much. Really humbled, to be giving away closing remarks, where I believe I've really been the learner in the session. Such valuable inputs from the learning community on how COVID learning loss has really impacted. To conclude, then, I thought, while there is no real empirical data available, I thought I'd bring everyone's attention to this study published in September 2022. The study was conducted in 2 months, one in December 2021, data was picked up, and in September 2022, the data was picked up a second time. 19,000 primary school children were studied. Of course, this study was conducted only in one state, so it cannot really, say that it talks for the entire country. But what the study really says is, and I think it sort of validates what everyone has shared, it says that there was indeed a lot of learning loss experienced during COVID, but within about 6 to 8 months, that is by September 2022, almost 2/3 of the loss had already been recovered, or it had already been made up. A couple of things that the study indicates, which is also validated by most of what people said, is math skills and language skills. Math skills as in numbers and language skills as in writing primarily has been found to be deficient in students that were studied in first in December 2021 and then September 2022. Which also indicates that these are areas that require constant practice. And since that was missing, the students have been found wanting in these areas. Further, again, this study does not indicate any behavioral loss per se. The study does not show anything in terms of behavioral loss, which I think we should all take with a pinch of salt. May not really, be true versus what we have seen on ground. So there are a lot of things in this study, and for those who are interested in reading it later, it's COVID-19 Learning Loss and Recovery. It is published by Abjit Singh, Marco Romero, and Karthik Muralidharan. I think it was submitted to the state government of Tamil Nadu in September 2022. So it needs to be taken with a pinch of salt because they've not really shown any behavioral learning loss in the entire study. So I would personally not go with it. I believe there has been a lot of a cultural loss that students have faced. Like a lot of panelists have shared, people have really missed out on how to interact with their peer groups, with their teachers, with everyone around them. So I do not. There doesn't seem to be any other study which is helping us indicate that. So Daksh, thank you so much. I think I'll hand it over back to you with that.
Thank you so much, Shourya sir. And I think now at every school level, there should be some effort on mapping what has happened. Let's start picking up data from all around us so that every school has something in numbers on paper. Key, okay, this was where the journey started. This is where it is right now. So that we have a beginning, middle, and end to the story. Because right now, the story that we have does not have a foundation. It does not have numbers. And I think why it is critical right now, because at this very moment, we are all creating history. If we're seeing transformation happen around us and we are a party to it, and we don't have a story to add to it, then I think we're not participating enough, which we want our students to do. We are not passive teachers or passive educators. We have to be active educators. Figure out a way, start doing some research. And I think it would be a very good school project for students as well, that let's pick up the numbers and see where do we actually stand. And I think we're trying to do a similar thing at the World Teen Parliament. We established an institution where teenagers from across the world come together, work on issues, identify them, bring solutions, bring data around it, and we fund them so that they can scale it up. And I think this is something that every school should be doing. Build small little cohorts, let them work on real life issues because they now need real life challenges. When they bring real life to your classroom, let's give them some more real life challenges to solve. Thank you so much, everyone, for being a part of the Blub World Web Talks. This was the 201st episode. I hope you enjoyed. If you did, open your audio, say a big yes, and thank you so much for being with us.